Power word radiance healing increased by what? 100%? Oh, yo, this is double, man. What? All right, so new class tuning announced on the 24th. This is fairly recent. This was posted on the 20th, so a day ago from when we're recording it. Okay, so balance. Fixed an issue where cosmic rapidity did not increase the frequency of shooting stars to occur based on the increased rate of moon fire. So is this the issue with the shooting stars that people have said? This should increase. Restoration vertice healing reduced. Adaptive storm increases effectiveness by 20. Okay, so resto is getting nerfs. Fair enough. Adaptive storm healing damage reduced. I was surprised to see resto druid getting buffs. Fire mage, all ability damage increased by 5%, so flat 5%, frost 5%. That's pretty good. Lesson of despair. Are we actually gonna see fire mages now? Because I know people have been talking about the 5% buffs. I am not convinced that 5% is enough to put fire mage too close to the top. Not even the top, but I guess I will be welcome to be surprised. Mistweaver, Lesson of Despair now increases critical strike while above 50% health, was 80. Okay. This is an adjustment on the 1005 PTR value for this ability. Okay. Barrier of Faith now accumulates 50% of effective Flash of Light and Holy Light healing, was 40%. So a little bit of buff for Holy Paladin, which is always welcome because Holy has been struggling slightly. Discipline Priest, Flash healing increased by 25%. Okay. Renew healing increased by 25%. So these are applying only to Discipline. Power word radiance healing increased by what? 100%? Oh, yo, this is double, man. What? Radiance does double. I guess I'm trying to remember every time I played Discipline if I really cared about the healing that Radiance did. It was always tiny. It was okay, but it was never something that, oh, I put Radiance that I'm done. No, Radiance is to spread atonement. That's what I always used it for. I'm thinking now that with the double healing, maybe that can actually assist you in the overall throughput. Ultimate Radiance increases the healing done by Power Radiance by 10%, was 100%. Okay, so the talent has been nerfed. So that means that this 10% would increase the baseline Power Word Radiance by 20% extra healing, as opposed to how it was before, where it was just double. So I think that if you pick both of these, because if I'm not mistaken, Radiance is a talent, your Radiance will do 220% more healing as opposed to 200%, right? Or 120% more healing as opposed to 100%. Okay, so it's not that big, but baseline it's stronger, which I guess it's good. Sins of the Many increases damage dealt by 40% at its highest effectiveness, was 30%. A little bit of damage buff. Divine Aegis creates a protective shield for 3 or 6% because it's a 2-pointer of critical healing done from 5 to 10%. Ooh, is a nerf. Is a big nerf. Okay, well. And we have notes. Our changes to Discipline are aimed at improving the spec's ability to react to burst damage, especially in dungeons. At the same time, we're tuning down a talent that's contributing more than intended to Discipline's overall healing. Between these tuning changes and talent changes in 1005, we expect Discipline to be slightly more effective in raids and slightly more effective in dungeons. Okay, well, the thing when so this needs to be tested. You need some logs for this, because if you buff it on one hand and nerf its main or one of the main source of healing on the other, how is its overall healing better? I'm guessing that all of these buffs far outweigh this nerf, I would assume. So they would have to outweigh it by a lot for the overall changes to Discipline to be a buff. So I'm all right. I guess we'll have to see if Discipline is ever gonna be meta again. Outlaw, combat stamina bonus reduced to 5%, was 10%. Okay, I'm not familiar with the actual numbers, but did Outlaw get 10% bonus stamina? Is this a talent, combat stamina for Outlaw? Stamina increased by 10%. This is a talent. Wow. So my Evoker gets a measly 4% extra stamina out, and it's one of the squishiest classes. Outlaw gets 10. Granted, Outlaw is melee, but my Evoker's kind of melee too. Oh, short range. Outlaw's survivability in challenging content has been consistently higher than what we expect and intend. As a result, we are reducing combat stamina's bonus to a value more appropriate for its position for single point cost. Okay. Killing Spree newly added for 1005. Damage reduction value reduced from 65 to 35%. There's an adjustment to the 1005 PTR value for this ability. Okay, well, is this a buff or a nerf? Killing Spree, the damage reduction value, so it reduced damage. Killing Spree, teleport to an enemy within 10 yards, attacking... Oh, it's that Killing Spree. Okay. With both weapons for a total of... Okay, whatever. And taking 65 reduced damage for... Oh, all right. So this is when you Killing Spree because you would take aggro, right? And you would take a lot of damage. And I don't know if this is... I have no idea why they did this. Because if you do take aggro... Like 30%, 35% is probably not going to save you, right? If you assuming you do this in AoE, even on a boss in raid, if you take aggro with Killing Spree, but we're assuming this doesn't happen in single target because the tank is competent to an extent that they can press taunt, right? But in AoE, you could say that people Killing Spree really quick with Blade Flurry and you do a lot of AoE damage and before the tank has a chance to do it, right? That's why I see this. Otherwise, this should be for PvP changed. Because in PvE, the only time where this is remotely valuable is if within the Killing Spree animation, you find yourself in a precarious situation where you take a lot of AoE damage that you cannot avoid because you have to wait for the animation to finish. We know this from Whirling Dragon Punch from Windwalkers and I-Beam from Havoc Demon Hunters, which we all know that how shitty it feels to be stuck in a long animation to finish your damage and take damage in return. So 35% is obviously better than nothing, but why is 65% OP? Like, is this number abusable in any way? This is I'm not sure how this feels, but hey, would have been nice to have a developer note on this as well. Maybe main Outlaws can think about this a little bit better. Okay, Shaman. Finally, we're getting to the Shaman, man. Shaman, Elemental and Restoration, because Enhancement is kicking some butt, man. Well, actually, Restoration more than anything, because Restoration is tragically low compared to the other healers. Healing Surge, healing increased by 15%. Yes, that's one. Mana Spring now restores 400 mana at level 70 was 200. That's two. That's good utility. That's probably why you want Shamans. This is not resto specific, but hey. Totemic Surge reduced the cooldown of totems by 3 seconds and 6, which was up from 2 and 4. Okay, that's niche utility. That's pretty good. Elemental first. Elemental is not that bad. Hindsight. It's not amazing, but I am seeing Elemental struggle a little bit more, so I am welcoming buffs to Elemental. Flame Shock damage increased by 10%. Chain Lightning damage increased by 10%. Chain Lightning might actually be huge because Elemental logs in Mythic Plus see Chain Lightning being the top ability in terms of their damage profile, so upping that by 10% is probably better than most other abilities for 10%. Lava Beam damage increased by 10%. Is this Lava Beam? That's the Ascendant's ability that replaces Chain Lightning, right? So I assume if they do this, that's because Lava Beam does not scale off of Chain Lightning buff. So that's probably a totally different ability, right? That would make sense if they wanted to keep it in tune. Earthquake damage increased by 10%. That's also good. That's second or third ability, if I'm not mistaken, for Elemental in AoE damage in Dungeons profile. So AoE has been buffed, which is good. I don't know if raiding single target has needs any buffs, but hey, Flame Shock has been buffed. And not to mention that raiding is mostly AoE anyway, so these buffs will help Shamans in the raid as well. Restoration. Healers. Rejoice. Healing Wave healing is increased by 6%. It's okay. I'm not sure how much you're pressing Healing Wave as a Resto Shaman though, or how much the Healing Wave buff matters when you want it to matter. I haven't played Resto Shaman since Shadowlands, but I've played it in Shadowlands, played it in BFA, played it in WoD, played it in Legion. Healing Wave was never massive. It's a good spell, but when shit hits the fan, you probably won't be pressing Healing Wave. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah. Acid Rain damage increased by 120%. Dude, this is the Torghast power that makes your Healing Rain deal damage. This had a bunch of damage in the beta. It was nerfed before it hit live, and now it's buffed again. It's good to see the return to the numbers. It's sad that it took this long, I suppose. Flame Shock damage increased by 20%. Lava Burst damage increased by 20%. That's pretty good. I mean, Resto could use a little bit more damage. Master of the Elements increased the effectiveness of the Shaman's next nature, physical, or frost spell by 20%. Okay, I'm slightly disappointed. This is pretty much all damage increase. I was really hoping for healing, for more healing buffs. Let's see what the dev notes have to say. These changes for both elemental and restoration are aimed at improving their capabilities in dungeon content. Okay, we feel restoration is lacking in reactive healing as well as damage reduction contributions, so we're increasing single target heals and a few damage abilities and talents. We're also increasing the effectiveness of Master of the Elements, which is intended to encourage weaving and damage spells. But what is the single target increase in healing? What do you mean? 6%? No way. No way. Okay, listen, I might be totally wrong, so we're going to prove myself right or wrong right now. Warcraft logs. We're going to look at some logs. This is supposedly aimed at dungeons, but I feel like restoration is suffering in raids as well. We're going to look at dungeons, and we're going to look at some of the best restoration shamans in the world. Well, let's say where people pull their numbers as high as possible, right? Where these buffs would probably matter the most. Let's look at Ruby Life pools. This is a pretty hectic fight to heal as a healer. Highest has been done is a 23, 22. This is not that low, but people are clearing 26s, so restoration is slightly below. If we're looking at healing, restoration finished with 35k HPS, which is not too amazing. Okay, Riptides, Chain Heal, Healing Surge, Cloudburst. This is what was buffed. So I don't know how this improves single target healing by buffing this by 6%. I am not impressed. Healing Surge being buffed is good though. So Healing Surge improved by 15%. That's good. That's good single target healing. 15%. I don't know how much that matters. I'm trying to see. Let's see. Can we look at bosses? Where does the tank take a lot of damage? I assume at Kokia, right? No, it would have to be at the last boss with the Storm Strike effects, right? Healing Surge is big. Okay, it's numero uno. So essentially, this has been buffed by 3.2%. So 3.2% extra healing. That's 350 HPS. That's not too much. I don't know if this is where we're struggling, but if we're talking about single target healing, we probably need to go to the raid. Where do tanks take the most amount of damage? Would it be Diurna? It would have to be Diurna, right? I don't know about Razageth. But I know, because you know, I'm also a healer. I feel like the most amount of healing, it could also be Razageth, but I know for sure from my experience that Diurna deals a lot of tank damage. Whoever's tank, because I've tanked Diurna and I've healed Diurna, the tank that's tanking Diurna takes a lot of damage. That was the only fight so far where I felt like, holy shit, I'm taking so much damage as a tank. I would assume that if this is in case the shaman is actually healing the tank that's tanking Diurna. I don't know if that's where this shaman is getting his numbers from. 70k HPS at similar eye level as a preservation, with almost double his performance, dealing way less healing. So in raids, Riptide, Cloudburst, Chain Heal. Okay, this is what I mean. Healing Wave is all the way down here. Healing Surge is... no way this is that low. Healing Surge is so low, but this is just Diurna. So Healing Surge does nothing here. Healing Surge and Healing Wave are very low. Like, the buffs are nothing. Main resto shamans that are pushing Mythic. So far, I haven't been proven wrong. And if I'm missing some crucial resto shaman know-how, I need to know. Chain Heal, Wellspring, Healing Wave... Healing Surge. So Healing Surge is just not played in whatever builds resto shamans are using. I assume it's a build that really doesn't... oh, it's High Tide. My baby High Tide. I'm assuming if shamans play High Tide, then you probably won't see Healing Surge at all. Yo! Healing Wave even lower! And no Healing Surge? Dude, get out of here, man. Healing Wave, slightly higher, but still pretty low. 6%. Buff this by 6% and tell resto shamans, listen, guys, you're good. What? Am I losing my mind here? These buffs seem so tiny. Okay, this guy spammed Healing Wave more than anybody that we've seen so far, and it still has 5.3k HPS. This is Mythic Diurna. You don't mess around with Mythic Diurna, man. What is 5.3k? This sounds so low, dude. Can I see one of my heal logs? And by the way, I'm like way worse than these guys, so don't put me in the same. I have a bunch of wipes. Can I see on some of the wipes? That's where I was pushed the most. This was our heroic. Okay, let's look at Diurna heroic for myself. I don't know how well I did here. Oh, I did pretty well. 79 percentile. 5.3k HPS is Rewind. Okay, but the Rewind was pretty poop. I don't think these are the buffs, guys. Am I wrong? Resto shamans, let me know. Affliction. Harvester of Souls damage increased by 25%. It seems like a big buff, but it depends on what that buff goes to. Each time Corruption deals damage, it has a 7% chance to deal extra shadow damage to the target and heal for 100% of that damage dealt. And this has been buffed by 25%. Now, what does that mean for a dungeon? Because I assume that's really good for dungeons. Because you have more dots up, you have more corruptions up. Let's pick Knockhood, a dungeon where you will naturally pull pretty big. It's not the biggest pulls, probably. I mean, you can always look at Algathar, but let's take a more rounded approach. First of all, I want to see if the talent is being played. It is not. Okay, pointless. Talent isn't being played. Talent isn't being played either. Okay, so the talent is just not being played. So this is a talent that's not being played buff. We talked about this, I think, with the Fire Mage buffs. When you have a spec that overall is way lower than everybody else, when you want to buff it, if you buff its options that they're not taking, you're not really helping. Because let's say you have Build A. Build A is what Affliction is rocking right now. Build A is not this talent. Build B is this talent. Build A deals more damage, but is still really low compared to everybody else. And Affliction, I think, is probably the spec that does the worst overall across the board out of all the specs in the game. If you buff something that they're not taking anyway, how are you helping? Is this a raid buff? Maybe it's a raid buff and I'm tripping. Let's use Diurna. Our Afflictions on Mythic Diurna, they're doing okay damage. Someone in Diurna is pretty okay. I want to see somebody that's not... Well, actually, we can take somebody with buffs and somebody without. Maybe it's a raid talent. It's not. Okay, that person isn't taking it. Nick Bolts. Nick Bolts, my man, play the talent that's being buffed. Come on, dude, play it. He's not playing it. Okay. So, moving past this amazing attention to detail, we're looking at Demonology. Reign of Tyranny causes Demonic Turn to deal 7% additional damage for each stack of Demonic Servitude active at the time of the summon was 5. So this was been buffed because pretty much all of the demos that I've seen, and I think you guys that are playing demo can confirm it, you don't play Reign of Tyranny at all, you play Wilfrid's or Grand Warlock's design, is that what it's called now? Dev notes. Overall, we're happy with Demonology's AoE capabilities. I bet you are. However, we feel their single target profile needs a bit of help. We're increasing the damage output of Reign of Tyranny to accomplish this. Ideally, Reign of Tyranny serves as a strong single target oriented. It is a single target. It's so funny that they're buffing Demo better than they're buffing Affliction, man. Oh, dude. Oh, all right. Listen, we're fine. We're going past it. Arms Warrior. Thunderclap damage increased by 30%. Hefty buff. I don't know how much Thunderclap is. Let's actually pull, because obviously we're going to pull references, guys. We're not going to talk out of our butts. We're going to pull references and see exactly how much these buffs mean. We're going to look at Knockout Offensive. Not too bad overall. Thunderclap is... okay, Thunderclap is poop. Thunderclap is 1.4% of your overall AoE damage in a dungeon. Maybe I need to look at... I'll look at Chinese Law because this person is high ranked. We'll be able to tell. Okay, 85k. So this guy did 5k more overall. Thunderclap is still 1%. It's even worse. Okay, so... this is whatever, because we're not going to look at raid, because if this doesn't do a lot of damage in dungeons, like, I don't see how this would be better in raid. Cleave damage increased by 5%. Okay, Cleave could be good. Cleave is top. Yo, Arms is rocking Cleave right now? Well, this person is rocking Roar, but Cleave is a good skill to buff by 5%. Okay, considering Fire Mage got an overall 5% across the board, I guess Cleave getting a 5%, it's not too bad. Whirlwind damage increased by 10. Okay. It's not too bad. It's actually pretty good. Blaze Storm damage increased by 5%. Well, okay. This could be good in burst, but then again, it's 5%. Rend initial damage only increased by 15%. All right. Well, it's kind of hard to see what the initial damage of Rend is. The 10.05 talent tree update for Arms will make for more flexible builds. However, their performance in AoE in dungeons and raids hasn't been where we would like relative to other specs, so we're additionally making some tweaks to improve things. Okay, I'm not convinced that these buffs are gonna be what Arms really needs to keep up with Fury. However, they're very good buffs, and they're likely doing they're doing safe buffs, let's say, right? They don't want to over buff Arms where it becomes silly, so they're probably doing incremental buffs like we have seen for other specs as well, and probably stop at the point where they can say, okay, it's fine, we like Arms here. So that's not that bad. I probably would assume you would probably want more buffs for arms. Fury. Raging Blow damage increased by 10%. Raging Blow is quite a bit. Yeah, Raging Blow is king. So Raging Blow buffed by 10%. Dude, this is better than the arms buff. What are you talking about? So Raging Blow is the best DPSer for Fury, gets a 10% buff. Cleave is the best DPSer for arms, gets a 5% buff. Execute damage increased by 15%. Ooh, okay. Dude, Fury's getting bigger buffs than arms, man. Why? Execute is pretty high here. So we can assume that this would be more impactful. Dude, rampage damage increased by... Why are the Fury buffs so much higher than arms? Isn't Fury so much better than arms? Alright, so Fury's doing 24s, 23s at the highest level, right? Arms is doing... Am I tripping? Is arms better? Arms is doing one key level lower. So Fury's getting the bigger buffs. Why? What's the logic of this? Bloodthirst increased, Bloodbath increased, Annihilator damage increased. That's great. So, okay. Despite a strong start to Season 1, Fury's performance has fallen behind where we would like it to be. See, when they say this, they probably want, like, we want Fury to be the best. 10.05 will see some minor changes to their talent tree, but these are more related to encouraging build diversity and providing more throughput. So we're making some additional changes to help their damage output. Okay, listen. All of these are in relation with the talent changes as well. So... these numbers could be relative, right? I think we will probably need sims. It's still hilarious to see Fury getting overall raw better buffs than arms, but arms is below Fury. That's funny. I'm sorry. Protection, there we go. The elephant in a room. Brace for impact now increases block value by 3%, was 5% per stack. Okay. Assuming protection is playing brace for impact. My boy Greg, tell us what talent you're using, my man. Look at Greg. Look at this bad boy. This is a purely defensive change though. Okay, so it's definitely being used. And I assume if we look here, we'll probably see it being used here as well. It is. Okay, because you're not taking unnerving focus. Okay, wow. All right. Brutal Vitality now causes 10% of damage you deal to your Ignore Pain was 15%. And I assume they're using it. Yes. So Brutal Vitality is actually king, it seems, for sustain. Okay. So I'm actually fine having this nerfed if Ignore Pain is just really silly, and it probably is. Let's see at healing. The healing that this guy does. 5% overheal because it's an absorb. This is hilarious. Okay. At one point, Indomitable used to be king, but I guess Ignore Pain has 13.7k HPS, dude. Let's look at here. 16k HPS. Listen, Ignore Pain is good, okay? I've trashed Ignore Pain for years. All right, this is a good nerf because you don't want to over nerf a tank sustain and a tank's tankiness because then you might put it into the toilet and that's sad. Shield specialization now increases block value by 12% per rank, was 15%. Increases block chance by 6% and your block value by 15%. Increases block value by 12%. Protection warriors are currently dominating tank populations. Yeah, well, we do want all tanks to feel powerful. Our data and overall perception of tanks put protection warriors ahead of the pack. We're making some small talent adjustments that are over budget to help address this. Okay, this is fair. These are the kind of nerfs that I would like to see to specs. They're tiny, but they're probably where they need to be. I'm not sure if this is everything, and if they're looking at the tank meta, like where are the bear buffs? Bear is getting a bunch of changes, but well, I guess we'll see. Okay, so a couple of good stuff here, and a couple of questionable stuff, let's say. I am not convinced with the mage buffs. I'm not convinced with the resto buffs. I think elemental could be okay. We could probably look at the logs, but I've seen elementals pump, and I think elementals are okay. They're not the best. And I don't know if this is gonna make them the best, but they're probably gonna be more appealing. Arms is questionable. Fury is good. Fury's doing pretty well. Fury is not taken into the best parties for once, right? You have Outlaws, Subs, Havocs, Boomies, Destro Warlocks. You go down a couple until you get Fury, let's say. So these are good. These are PvP nerfs, which we're probably not gonna go too much into. But yeah, okay. Overall, this is nice. So what this all shows us, all of these buffs, because they're retroactively added after the patch notes have been announced, meaning that they're listening to the feedback. They're announcing a bunch of buffs. People are saying like, listen, we also need this, and it looks like they're listening to it, which is pretty cool. and I'm glad. This makes it so much more enticing to play WoW. I love it. I love it. Hope you guys love it too. Buffs, baby, and some nerfs.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.